fishing news is brought to you by Navionics, Okuma, Yozuri, Evinrude, Lama Glass, and the Star Island Yacht Club in Montauk, New York.
'Twas the week before Christmas, and all along the beach, very few casters were casting, even though the stripers were still in reach. I'm Jim Hutchinson with the New Jersey Delaware Bay edition of the Fisherman magazine, and we had beautiful conditions midweek here along the Jersey Shore. A Wednesday morning look at glassy, calm conditions at Island Beach State Park. Of course, waters were rather riled up over the weekend with all that heavy surf, big storms, but things have kind of cleaned up rather nicely out along the coasts as this chilly week here in December progresses, the week right up until Christmas. In fact, I got a couple of reports earlier this week, friends calling me saying they're on fish, popping up and down. They're in for a little while. Sometimes it's on the falling tide, but again, those tins and teasers, primarily Monmouth and Ocean County. In fact, we did have a good report coming from Hook House Bait and Tackle in Toms River on Wednesday. Jim Mathis here, he had a 12 3/4 pound striper. He weighed in there at Hook House in Toms River, caught that on tins and teasers in the wash at Island Beach State Park, again, midweek. There are some herring around. Doing the reports on Monday, we found out that more and more herring are popping up here and there, making some ingress back and forth through Manasquan Inlet. As a matter of fact, we're hearing of some good reports, a couple of fish in the Manasquan River, out in the back, in the upper reaches of the Barnegat Bay as well. And if you see some of those herring, if we get some of those herring in, of course, SP minnows, some swim shads, and of course those kettle creeks as well. So there is the likelihood, there's a chance, the opportunity, that's all we really want, right? In enjoying some of those smaller stripers in the wash, but again, get a chance at one of those keepers as well. I did mention Manasquan, upper reaches of Barnegat Bay as well. Out front, and LBI, getting some reports of some smaller stripers there. Again, tins and teasers are working best for some of those small fish. Scale down, enjoy some catch and release. Just be careful with those fish. Don't kick them back into the water, but it's nice being able to just pick them up, loose release. And if you're getting rid of those treble hooks on some of those SP minnows, if you have them, it's really a lot cleaner release as well. Now, many times fish are in tight. They're whacking at some of those sand eels. And you know, those tsunami sand eel imitations, they're fantastic. They don't cast as well. But again, a lot of the times right now, those fish are in tight, making those a very effective fishing lure in the surf at this time of year. I talked to Billy from Fin Addicts when I was at the Folsom show last week. He said, yeah, around Ocean City, along some of the jetties, there's some stripers in there whacking plastics. Just seems like down in South Jersey, folks are a little bit more averse to going out and looking for some of those smaller stripers. But it definitely is worth a shot. With the weekend weather forecast ahead, looks like it might be a good time to wet a line and give it a shot. Now, my friend Chris Madison, it's bumped into him at the Folsom Tackle Show last week. He says he's been hitting some of those fat little footballs around the Absecon area behind Atlantic City. So again, slinging some of those plastics, a good opportunity. Don't forget, we really only have a couple of weeks left before you can target some of these stripers in the Back Bay. As of January 1st and all the way through until March 1st, those Back Bay waters are closed, not allowed to even target stripers in the back. If you're using some of those small plastics like Chris, I do hear the smaller Kettle Creek swing shads have been working. Had that opportunity myself in the last couple of weeks. So in addition to matching the hatch with the tins and teasers and tsunami sand eels or whatever sand eel imitation, don't forget to take some of those plastics as well. And be sure to check the tails. Believe it or not, we found out from Grumpy's this week, had this to share, surprising, but there may be a stray bluefish around by the looks of this as well. Nick Honicheski says he thinks there's a couple of stray sea trout in the neighborhood as well. Speaking of bluefish, of course, the world has gone on its end this week as we found out about the Mid-Atlantic Fishery Management Council and the Atlantic States Marine Fisheries Commission last week, December 10th, voting on brand new limits for 2020. I've got this written up here. 5 fish if you're fishing on a for-hire boat, charter or party boats. 3 fish if you're a private angler, shore mode, or anybody on a private boat. I hear a lot of folks in conversation in person and on social media saying this is a good decision based on a lack of bluefish. Some folks saying, how many bluefish can you really eat? I don't think that's the point. Here's my question. If we need to cut back the harvest by 18%, as the management bodies have decided, how does a 75 to 80% reduction in bag limit, how is that fair? I'll tell you, it's not. I don't believe that the ends justify the means. I was going through some old reading of late. John Geiser, remember the late John Geiser from the Asbury Park Press? His guide to saltwater fishing, John Hersey, great book from a few years ago, a national bestseller called Blues. Without fishing pressure we have in the past 50 years, bluefish still seem to run in mysterious cycles. Hershey writes, bluefish come and go in a way no one understands. He said how plentiful the bluefish were in New England in colonial times, but then from about 1764 they totally disappeared, didn't show up again until 1810. There were tremendous catches from 1880 until 1905. They dropped off again for several years. Hersey talks about a sharp decline in the 40s. By 1941, almost none were caught except for off of Maryland and Virginia. John Geiser himself notes, this is from 20 years ago, scientists are still at a loss for explaining the cycles of scarcity and plenty that marked the bluefish fishery from the 19th century until the 1950s. Geiser also added there was a period of relative scarcity of the species in New England and mid-Atlantic waters during World War II, but the bluefish increased in abundance from the 1950s on. I'll have more on this bluefish decision. You can go to thefisherman.com and find out what the ASMFC and Mid-Atlantic Council voted for 2020, but pick up the January edition. We're going to print in just a couple of weeks. You can find out more about my take of bluefish in talking to a couple of folks here at the Jersey Shore. Also in that January edition that's coming out in just 2 weeks, right around Christmas, a rather shocking results of tag number 2. You remember back in May, we put 2 satellite tags in a pair of fish. We got the first one, Liberty, that was the one that went to the canyon. Well, we've got some surprising results on Freedom. That tag was out in play all the way out all these waters before it washed up on the beach in Asbury Park in October. We'll have the full story in the January edition of the Fisherman magazine to find out about that 5-month cycle. Now, we have big plans for 2020 in terms of putting more satellite tags in some stripers in the Hudson River to track their movements for a 5-month stretch. Each one of these tags costs $5,000, so you can understand it's hard raising money. But I got to tell you, we've had quite a few investors so far from New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, and Maryland. Thank you all. We are leading the way, I've got to say. Yes, I'm a braggart, but we've got a lot of investors. $10, a $10 donation to help fund more satellite tags for the future will get you that really nifty new decal that we've got out. Release, reduce, and rebuild. It's great on the car. Put it on the back of the laptop, something like that. You can find out information by following the link that's in this screen or go look for it on the homepage at thefisherman.com. It makes a great gift. You know, a great holiday gift if you want to add $10 and have the sticker sent to a buddy of yours. I'm not sure we can process this before Christmas, but it's definitely a good thing to get some more science and do some more studies on these striped bass. Another nice gift this holiday season, it's always a calendar. I'm always looking forward to getting a new calendar. Well, I got to tell you, Andy at Riptide in Brigantine has one of the coolest calendars ever. He's documented all the best car beachings from 2019. You know, those yahoos that get out there on a 2-wheel drive car and think they can manage the beaches of Brigantine. Will stop in to Riptide Bait and Tackle and celebrate 12 months of the year, 12 months of bad decisions, people trying to drive along the beach. You folks that are fans of the Darwin Awards will certainly appreciate that. I did catch up with my friend George while he was doing a little holiday shopping up in Pennsylvania. Asked him to give us a report. So here we go with George, the Pocono Outdoors guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. You know, the holiday is almost here, so there's lots of fishing yet to do. You guys got to get out. Here's Josh Taylor. He's out in those northern lakes in New Jersey hitting some landlocked salmon and some trout. Great day out there. Now, guys are also killing the smallmouth out on the Susquehanna. Some real beasts out there. Delaware River, smallmouth. You got the walleye. They're hitting them hard out there as well. Lots of brook trout, which they're usually stocked for some of the guys out in the lakes this time of year. Get out and hit some brookies as well. Lots of open water fishing. The holidays here. Hopefully you have a few days off to go enjoy. But from Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors guy.
Now, Hanukkah kicks off on Sunday, Christmas, of course, on Wednesday. So there's not a lot of time between now and then to squeeze in your holiday shopping. I'm going to throw in another wrinkle. Saturday and Sunday weather looks tremendous along the inshore and offshore waters. Now, sea bass, of course, are hungry at the offshore wrecks. I'm thinking 40, 60 miles or more. Saturday and Sunday gives you a great opportunity to get in to some of that sea bass action before the holidays this coming weekend. A lot of party boats sailing from Monmouth County all the way down to Cape May County. Check thefisherman.com to find out a list of who's sailing. Get yourself on one of those trips, and don't forget that black sea bass fishery comes to an end at the end of 2019. We won't have that open up again until spring of 2020. Tog, also relatively close to shore. I'm saying within 10 miles. So if you can get on one of the charter boats, party boats, or maybe one of your buddies still has a boat in the water. I know Ryan Laughlin here, he had a 14-pounder on his buddy's boat, Paul Hartel. They went out last week, 14-pound monster tog caught on a Magic Tails jig. Definitely the time of year to get out there before the weather hits, the winter, when those fish are moving deep. You still have a good opportunity to jig. Now, if you're out this weekend, make sure to take advantage of it. I talked to Dennis Huber this week. He says he's looking for bass off of Cape May County this week. Hope to have more to report back sometime next week or the next couple of weeks on how he did. I have one more striper note, a gift I just received today in the mail from my friend Bob Lick. He's a former NJBBA leader and legend, moved out west a few years back. He sent me this note. He says earlier this year he had donated all my fishing tackle to NJBBA. I'm happy most of it is sold with monies received to go to good use. But Bob tells me, while cleaning out my garage, I came across this enclosed fish. Very few of these were produced many years ago by one of the original Montauk Murderers Row gang. Bob, I got to thank you for sending this along. Believe that? That's one of my early holiday gifts. God bless you, Bob Lick. Thank you so much. I'm going to put it here in the office someplace. I will hang it with pride. No video report next week, folks. We've got that Christmas holiday, so we're going to take the week off from the report video. But we do have a holiday greeting coming from the Fisherman staff this coming Tuesday. You folks that get the email alert, you will see that on Tuesday. And I hope you enjoy your Christmas. Catch them up. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. A great New Year. And I will see you here next year, right here at thefisherman.com.
Win the incredible Steigercraft Evinrude Lowrance Grand Prize Boat Package and more in the Fisherman's 2019 Dream Boat Fishing Challenge. Get the details now at thefisherman.com.